Shopkeeper Dog in the top left. He is our Glacial Terran. That's a weird color on the Ministry. Neblime in the top right as our dark green Protoss once again. A repeat of the last game's colors for Neblime, but he's in Shop Dog's spot. Can you believe that? Ramen in the chat saying, Savant Harakan good in both TVZ and TVP. I think if Neblime changes up his composition enough, that's a very different story. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Potentates would have beaten the Bio. They probably wouldn't have. But at the very least, they could have shot at them. The Pariahs, in the early stages of the game, before they get too out of hand in terms of numbers, they can absolutely do some things. I'm hoping that, even if it's not Shopdog, who is one of our best Terrans, at some point I hope to see some Terrans figure out like a bio into mech or even just a straight up mech opener. The changes that I made to the game, they weren't designed to eliminate Fulcrum openers, the factory equivalent here in Cosmonarchy. They were designed to just make it a little bit more flexible in the like early mid-game area when you're scaling up a little bit. So the fact that we're seeing so much bio out of Shopdog in these games, including in Game 3, I'm not worried about it. It's one player playing one series of games, but I would love to see some more mech-oriented play. So we'll see if that ends up working out versus Protoss at a high enough level where it could be relevant to players like Neblime, to players like Shopdog, Ramen, Ayud, stuff like that. So we will indeed once again have that gateway opener. I don't think there's any reason to open Lattice into this, because if they are going mech, it's Lattice, straight Lattice can be somewhat problematic, although it's probably fine. But it's just not as easy to turn that into something that actuates. So Neblime saving up a decent amount of cash. Is he just going to Nexus? No, it looks like he is getting ready. No, never mind. That was just a rally. Ask 5 TOS players what to build and you'll get 10 answers. Good job, Sausage. That's that good banter, Sausage. So he's actually just going to go ahead and wait for the Mason to clear out. You can tell that he's got a lot of money in the bank, and maybe he will just Nexus. I mean, he kind of knows what Shopdog's going to do. So the Nexus comes down. It's one gate expand. We saw this out of Kasuga as a way to respond to Jakulansky's Zerg. And I guess there's a chance that he will have a hard time holding. This is why I'm bad at P. I lose and I go. Any advice? Yeah. I could predict that one. So, Rogue Gallery coming. I think that's just for Fast Tier 2. I don't think, or Fast Tier 3, I don't think he's going to be going for Charlatans, as was discussed earlier. One of the things that I definitely want to see a little bit more of over time is not just the mech play out of Terran like I was talking about earlier, but I would love to see more like hardcore Grand Library stuff. Like, for whatever reason, Neblime seems to want to skip out on Tier 2. Like, he went 1 Grand Library in Game 1. His Cantavis seemed to be the best performing thing that he had, and then he went Vibrance or Unar or stuff like that, right? I feel like the main thing that I would want to see out of him is just more Cantavis. But he wants to double down on this Prostration stage rush. This time with a little bit more eco to support it, right? He's getting his Nexus fast. Definitely a lot faster than Shopdog has had to deal with before. And the Taluses are already on the way, but at this point, we actually have more, slightly more worker production for Neblime for just a little bit longer. And he was already a little bit more ahead on workers, because I do think that Shopdog's build cuts workers, or maybe he just doesn't build them quite as fast as Neblime does, but either way, it's an opportunity. One of the things that I definitely want to see is, like, what is the follow-up to the Prostration stage? You can't just make that. I'm fine with a couple of Pariahs in the comp. They can help you clear out things like the Mass Hurakan. Charlatan Amaranth Architect. That's an interesting set. I could definitely see Charlatan Architect working out really well. The Amaranths are a pretty big deal for even, like, Savants to deal with. Hurakan Savant. They have that shield steal. Obviously, the Savants can reduce their overall efficacy. I thought it was kind of cute that Dog went a little bit of Eidolon in Game 1, but a lot of Savants in Game 2. He just went straight Savant. He saw that you're just making Pariahs, I'll just make Savants. That's fine. We can mono-comp this out. I think I win. So that's kind of interesting. We do have the second Prostration stage on the way, by the way. So Neblime has an idea that he's going for. Same thing as Game 2. Except a little bit more economical, as we said earlier. The Nexus is much faster. I feel like Grand Library is definitely a good move that should be explored more because of the Cantavis. And I think Herald also helps out with engagements in general. It's one of those units that feels like an engagement engine. You put something that you don't care about losing in front of the Herald, it dies, or you even kill it yourself. The Herald then makes that unit give the movement speed vengeance boost that you normally have to let an Ecclesias die, or a Vassal die, or a Servitor die in order to get. So it's a very, very good tool for engaging armies. And versus Bio, you need to be able to engage. Like, Mech gives you options to engage as the Protoss player. Bio is a little bit more even. And it matters, of course, your angle of attack versus both compositions. But sometimes versus Bio, it matters a lot more. Now, this time it's going to be a lot more Eidolon heavy from Shopdog. He's skipping Savants entirely, which I don't really dislike. I think it makes sense to try out a couple of different styles. Sausage was in the chat in this game saying, like, hey, man, you just got to test all this stuff because some things are a lot different. And fair enough, that's true. But I also think that managing the growth of the Taluses is probably a big deal here for Neblime. I mean, Shopkeeper Dog is trying out the Talus style. I'm sure we're going to get some players that still want to just make a Ministry. It's just a little bit more, like a little bit more safe. It's a little bit more sturdy. I can see opportunities for really early game, like sharp abuse tactics here, like Mass Gate or something into the Bio. I mean, you think about what always abused Bio in the past, it was just Mass Dracodon. Maybe you don't need Tier 2 at all. But Shopkeeper Dog is going to be going up against a Unitary Union added Protoss. So is that going to be Unars again? I think that's better versus Mech because it's like, it will overkill a lot of Bio units. But Asilians don't suck in the mid-range as long as they can obviously stay alive long enough, but I feel like they're pretty good. Obviously, another thing to think about is the Vibrance. If you can get it into enemy bases, you can pop a lot of the workers, although that's not true for Taluses because Vibrances can only attack ground units. So, you know, there's limited efficacy, I think. Architect isn't a bad shout. Oh, and we actually do have the Rogue Gallery thinking about it. That was his sort of bridge between the Gateway and the Prostration stages. So Sausage saying that he can do Architect Charlatan. That's honestly not bad. So maybe that's a real thing. Maybe Neblime will start making some Architects. We saw him start one in Game 1. I didn't comment on it. And some Savants have been trickled in here now. So with that Dracodon getting cornered on the way out, not really the most firepower here for Neblime. I don't think he can take a fight right this moment, but he does have 5 Pariahs. There's a lot of money invested in his composition. It just doesn't really feel like he can choose the engagement right now. So, 4th base on the way. Before the 3rd is really well saturated at this point, and the Hierophant has found the treasury. So as soon as Neblime notices that, he should actually be able to maybe catch a couple of units here. Pops the Savant on the way out. Not bad at all. He needs to get the rest of his army in. I don't think they're on a control group, or something's gone wrong here, because these Pariahs are not incorporated into the fight. Only now is he cycling them back, and these ones in the front are definitely going to be taking a lot of damage. Really heavily reduces their power later on. Now, these Savants have not actually deployed yet, so they are still in their pen mode, but the Hurricanes are rending the armor enough so that the Pariahs are still vulnerable. That's a big splatter over there, but as soon as those Savants actually go for that deployment, you really have to respect how slow your units are going to attack on the Protoss side. That was a really, like, honestly, it was slightly too late for Neblime to pull back, and I don't think it was worth killing a bunch of Mavericks and a couple of Savants. At the very least, he does shut down this base over here in the corner. Shopdog ended up canceling that out. He's just going to go ahead and make another treasury inside the 3rd. And now we're starting to see some pretty good saturation here for the 3rd base, right? So it's coming online for Neblime as well, but the worker count is even, and Shopdog has better distribution. And now Shopdog is also going to go ahead and expand on location. His Ancient with 2 HP, by the way. Very funny. Another Dracodon sacrificed. I have not returned. I wish I did not return. That deployed Savant getting cleaned up. Does feel like at this point the army needs to make a beeline up here in case Neblime is going in for an attack, but instead we are just going to see him shark around with the ground troops over here. The 1 Sycophant will heal some shields. 1 Architect is out. We definitely need more than that, right? So that's where there's a secondary Unitary, another Architect being made. We don't have any Charlatans just yet. That Pariah is going to die. Executed, tap to the back of the head. Again, you scale up the Architect count and imagine how many more bio kills are going to get rolling in. There's the deployment, and now you cycle back. You let the Sycophant die if he needs to. He's going to give you a lot of shields on the way back out. That Architect could get sniped by the Eidolons if you're not careful. With no Anseal to detect, maybe Witnesses could figure in now. 11 Hurricanes per rotation are being made right now. A couple of other engages on the way up forward. Looks like the Savants might have been on a follow order or something. They weren't actually shooting. That's a little bit of a whiff there from Dog. He's still going to clean up a lot of Pariahs. But I think once you get the Architect count up high enough, we are absolutely going to see some much better performances out of Neblime's army. So let's see what happens here. Only the third game between these two, but we've seen a lot of development so far from what Neblime wants to do. As expected, Neblime is a strategic player. He thinks a decent amount. Sure, his mechanics are okay, but he definitely tries to come up with good compositions here. He's not in the make unit win game camp exactly, though he respects it. He wants the units that he's making, he wants them to be good units. Let's see if he can do that. A couple Vagrants going down just because of them timing out. They have a second life passive there. Not the game, but, you know, something like that. Crucible coming. That'll empower a lot of the production. That's definitely going to be a big deal. One Pariah coming in to force all these Taluses to go away. That's one way where the Taluses are actually weaker than Masons, is against splash damage. That can actually hit them, of course. A lot of these Hurricans have to contend with all the splash damage on top of the cliff, but again, the Architect count is not high enough to really heavily cycle back on this. We haven't seen any Architects go down. If we do, that's a big problem, right? So it's a good thing that there's support here to help that Architect out. The Sycophant's restoring the shields pretty consistently, and only now is the army starting to cycle over towards this Pariah that's still shutting down that fourth base. This is while Neblime's own fourth is on the way, and he has a witness out. The other one got sniped. The Anciel will probably... Oh, yeah. The Anciel detects the other two witnesses there. So there's no easy shots onto those Eidolons in the back line, and all of the front is going to be gutted by those Eidolons. He's finally realized that he can fight those individual targets. He needs to evacuate. If the Architects can't escape, then that's a big problem. The Pariahs will give their lives. As long as the Architects come in, actually, this could be a really big fight for Neblime. A bit of a sleeper move, but it looks like those Eidolons will start to recloak. All the other units are taken care of, so there's 11 Eidolons, 17 Hurricans, 18, 19. We got a couple more Hurricans coming. This has actually been a really good management here for Neblime. He's kept all of those Architects alive, and Shopdog hasn't really found the openings to pounce on them. Definitely subdued a little bit by that Pariah in the bottom left. And that's where most of Neblime's army is going. This I'm a little bit worried about. He doesn't have any map control in the middle of the map. Army went down to clear that out. That was one of the reasons why he could even do that engagement. Shopdog overextending with a portion of his army. And now the witness in the middle of the map spots out that there's a big army coming. So with 5 Eidolons, five Architects rather, this is a big problem. One of the Architects already going down. The melee not able to decloak those Eidolons in time. And the Hurricans obviously soaking up a lot of that pressure. A couple of ranged units will come in to heckle the base. That makes a lot of sense. And now he can use them as a distraction to see if he can't evacuate. Another Architect is up and running. Cillian as well. Oh man, this is so dangerous with those Eidolons up and still at large. I don't think the Eidolon count isn't so outrageous, but it definitely feels like that witness needed to be with the army. And somehow threading the needle on the Anciel. It's not an easy task. Ironically, the Anciel might be a legit cause for Potentates, because they can shoot air, and they can do so from a good range. But this Architect cleanup is really, really bad for Neblime. He's got a couple more units moving out and over here trying to intercept some of these reinforcements. This army's going to move into 9 o'clock. It's just sowing a little bit of chaos, and maybe he can heckle the workers at the natural, but the Taluses flee towards that bottom left, and this army has no targets. Oh, it's heartbreaking. You can see the style is here. The idea is here. It's definitely harder than it might look. Oh my god, this army is still here. Shopdog has not actually finished it off. Wild. Meanwhile, Masons are fighting. No, don't let them fight you. The Eidolon's sniping with impunity. Reinforcements coming on in. There's an Asilian. There's many more Architects. Oh, these ones are going to get cleaned up on the ramp, though. Without the Sycophant support, they don't really have the shield sustain in the same way. Oh, finally, maybe they can catch the Anciel. Oh my god, it's just ignoring them with impunity. If he can get some actual witness support here, that would be a very, very different story. But Shopdog is just pounding out Hurricans. His Eidolon count has not really been managed. He's up to towards 30, and the Architect count is not comparable. Oh, he's even getting bopped on the other side with him. His front line collapsing. Eidolon's running him down. Finally, we've got a little bit of a counter with the Charlatans, but that is not going to be nearly enough. And that will wipe out basically the entire army for Neblime. He's got a couple more units here and there, but can't even get one last shot off. 2 architects back at home. He's got some pariahs. He's trying his best. He's lost sycophant production, just making mass vagrant. Ancestral Archives now on the way. But I think he's a long way away from having an up-tech done out, guys. I don't know about you, but this does not look too easy. It looks like now we're starting to see some devastating amounts of movement from Chopdog's army. Now, it's not over yet, because Chopdog still has to make the correct decision to allocate his troops towards 3 o'clock, or maybe even lower. Try to clean up some of those extra bases. But he's getting baited in towards the main army. This is the 1 victory condition for Neblime, or at least stall condition. But he has very, very minimal static defense here. And the architects are going to get pounced on by those Eidolons, by reinforcements. This does not look like something that you're going to be able to see Neblime come back from. I said earlier is the 1 victory condition. It's basically the 1 chance that he had to stay alive in this game, and it's not going to be enough. The Eidolon count too high. Who needs tier 2? Shopdog will take the game.